David Letterman's coffee cup shattered on the floor when Sammy Davis Jr. suddenly pulled off his glass eye and placed it on the desk between them. Paul Schaefer's hands went silent on the keyboard. The audience gasped in shock. And for the next 14 minutes, the man who could do everything, sing, dance, act, play instruments, stopped performing and started confessing. He talked about belonging nowhere, about pleasing everyone while losing himself, about being too black for white America and too white for black America. What Sammy said that night about identity, loyalty, and the impossible price of acceptance would haunt everyone who heard it. It was a Thursday night in May 1985, and Late Night with David Letterman was running at full energy. The show had been on the air for 4 years and had established itself as the smart, edgy alternative in late-night television. David Letterman, 38 years old with his trademark curly brown hair and self-deprecating humor, sat behind his wooden desk in Studio 6A at 30 Rockefeller Plaza, flipping through his blue cue cards. The monologue had been sharp. The audience was engaged. Paul Schaefer and the band were in perfect form. Everything was clicking smoothly. Letterman glanced at his notes for the next guest and felt a wave of genuine excitement. Sammy Davis Jr., a legend, one of the most talented entertainers who ever lived, a member of the Rat Pack, a man who could do absolutely everything on stage. But Letterman had also heard rumors. Sammy was sick, throat cancer, his voice was damaged, he was in pain, and lately he'd been giving interviews that were unusually candid, almost raw, as if he decided he had nothing left to lose. 30 seconds, the stage manager called out. Letterman straightened his tie and looked into the camera as the red light blinked on. "Welcome back," Letterman said with genuine warmth. "Our next guest is one of the greatest entertainers who ever lived. He can sing, dance, act, play multiple instruments, do impressions, and probably juggle while doing all of that. He's a member of the legendary Rat Pack. Please welcome the one and only Sammy Davis Jr." The audience erupted into massive applause and cheers. People were on their feet immediately. Paul Schaefer hit a swinging, jazzy riff on the keyboard, and the band launched into a sophisticated, celebratory groove. And from backstage, moving with that unmistakable Sammy Davis Jr. energy, he walked out. He was 59 years old, thin, wearing a perfectly tailored black suit with a white shirt and a thin black tie. Multiple gold rings glinted on his finger. His trademark glass eye caught the studio lights. He moved with that classic entertainer's grace, but there was something different about him. A tiredness, a weight. The standing ovation continued. Sammy's smile, that famous million-watt smile, waved with both hands, blew kisses to the audience. He was performing the entrance, giving them what they expected. But Letterman, watching closely, could see something underneath, something strained. Sammy reached Letterman, and they embraced warmly. Letterman could feel how thin Sammy had become. "Sammy, thank you so much for being here," Letterman said. "Baby, I wouldn't miss it," Sammy said. His voice was raspy, damaged from the cancer, but still unmistakably his. They sat down. Sammy crossed his legs, adjusted his jacket, and immediately radiated that classic Sammy Davis Jr. charisma, always on, always performing. "How are you feeling?" Letterman asked carefully. Sammy's smile flickered for just a moment. "I'm here, baby. That's what counts." The audience laughed, but uncertainly. They could hear the roughness in his voice. "Your voice sounds different," Letterman said gently. "Yeah, well, throat cancer will do that to you," Sammy said with a bitter laugh. "Turns out 60 years of smoking and drinking and pushing yourself to the limit catches up eventually." The studio went quieter. This wasn't the playful banter they expected. Letterman leaned forward. "Are you in treatment?" "I'm doing what I can," Sammy said. "But honestly, Dave, I'm not sure how much time I got left. Could be a year, could be 6 months, could be less." His voice was matter-of-fact, but his hands were trembling slightly on the armrest. "So I figured I'd better start saying some things I've been holding in for 50 years, because if I don't say them now, I never will." Letterman's expression changed. The ironic distance disappeared. "Sammy, you can say whatever you need to say." Sammy nodded slowly. "You mean that?" "I mean it." Sammy took a deep breath. Then he reached up to his left eye, the glass eye he'd had since losing the real one in a car accident in 1954, and with a quick motion, he pulled it out and set it on Letterman's desk with a soft click. The audience gasped. Some people looked away. Others leaned forward, shocked and fascinated. Letterman stared at the glass eye on his desk, then at Sammy, whose empty socket was now visible, a dark hollow in his face. "Why did you do that?" Letterman asked quietly. "Because I'm tired of hiding things," Sammy said. "I've spent my whole life hiding things, hiding pain, hiding fear, hiding who I really am, and I'm done." His voice was getting stronger despite the rasp. He gestured to the glass orb on the desk. "I lost it in a car accident when I was 28, and you know what I did? I turned it into a joke. I made it part of my act. I did bits about it, made people laugh about my disability, because that's what I do. I take pain and turn it into entertainment." The studio was absolutely silent now. "But I'm tired of entertaining everyone. I'm tired of making everyone else comfortable while I'm dying inside." What Sammy said next would shock everyone. Sammy leaned back in his chair, his hands gripping the armrest. "You want to know what it's like to be Sammy Davis Jr.? Let me tell you, it's being the most talented guy in the room and still not being good enough. It's being able to do everything and still being judged by what I can't change, which is the color of my skin." His voice was rising now, passionate. "I'm part of the Rat Pack, right? Me, Frank, Dean, Peter, Joey. We're legends. We tear up Vegas. We make movies. We're on top of the world. And you know what? I'm the only one who can't stay in the hotels we perform in. I'm the only one who has to enter through the back door. I'm the only one who gets called that word by the same people who applaud me on stage." Letterman's eyes were wide. "Sammy, I had no idea." "Nobody does," Sammy said, "because I smile through it. I tap dance through it. I sing through it. Because that's what I'm supposed to do. Keep them comfortable. Keep them entertained. Never let them see that it hurts." He looked out at the audience, his one eye sweeping across their faces. "You know what Frank told me once? Frank Sinatra, my friend, my brother, he said, 'Sam, you're the most talented cat I know. But you gotta understand, in this business, in this country, you're always gonna have to work twice as hard and be twice as good to get half the respect.'" And he was trying to be supportive. He was trying to be honest, but what he was really saying was, "You'll never be equal." Tears were forming in his eye, and he was right. I've spent 50 years proving myself. 50 years being the hardest working man in show business. 50 years saying yes to everyone, doing everything, never complaining. And you know what? I'm still not seen as equal. I'm still the novelty. I'm still the talented little black guy who can do tricks. Paul Schaefer had tears streaming down his face. The audience was crying. Letterman was gripping the edge of his desk. Sammy stood up suddenly. He walked away from the guest chair toward the front of the stage. The cameras followed him. "You want to know the worst part?" Sammy asked, his voice breaking. "I'm not black enough for black people, and I'm not white enough for white people. Black folks look at me and see a sellout. They see a man who married white women, a man who hangs out with white entertainers, a man who converted to Judaism, a man who, God help me, hugged Richard Nixon on stage." He laughed bitterly. "And that hug, that one hug in 1972 destroyed me in the black community. I was trying to build a bridge. I was trying to use my access, my position to help. But they saw it as betrayal. And maybe they were right. Maybe I was so desperate to be accepted, to be included, that I lost sight of what mattered." His voice got quieter, more vulnerable. "But white folks don't fully accept me either. To them, I'm talented, sure. I'm entertaining. I'm useful. But I'm not one of them. I'm the exception. The safe black friend. The one who doesn't make them uncomfortable. The one who makes them feel better about themselves." He turned back to face Letterman. "So where do I belong, Dave? Where's my place? I'm too black for white America, and too white for black America. I'm Jewish, but I'll never be fully accepted in that community either. I'm an entertainer who's performed for presidents and kings, but I can't get a cab in New York City after dark." Sammy walked slowly back to the guest chair and sat down heavily, exhausted. "I'm 59 years old. I'm dying, and I still don't know where I belong. I still don't know who I'm supposed to be. I've spent so many years trying to be everything to everyone that I forgot to be myself. And now it's too late to figure out who that even is." Letterman had moved from behind his desk. He was sitting on the front edge, closer to Sammy, his face showing pure empathy. "Sammy, you belong here," Letterman said softly. "Right here, right now, being honest, being yourself. That's where you belong." Sammy looked at him with his one eye, tears flowing freely now. "You think so?" "I know so," Letterman said. And then Sammy revealed something even more painful. Sammy wiped his eye with the back of his hand. His voice was quieter now, more intimate. "Can I tell you about something that happened to me when I was a kid? Something I've never talked about publicly. Please, Letterman said. Sammy took a shaky breath. When I was 7 years old, I was already performing vaudeville. My father and my uncle, we were the Will Maston Trio. And one night, after a show somewhere in the South, I was still in my costume, and I walked out the back door of the theater. He paused, his jaw working. 3 white men were waiting there. They saw this little black kid in a fancy costume, and they didn't like it. They said I was getting too big for my britches, that I needed to learn my place. And they beat me, 7 years old. They beat me bloody while my father and uncle were still inside packing up. The studio was so quiet you could hear the hum of the lights. And you know what I did the next night? I went on stage and I smiled. I sang. I danced. I made people laugh. Because that's what I was supposed to do. That's what I was trained to do. Take the pain and turn it into entertainment. His voice broke completely now. And I've been doing it ever since. For 52 years. Smiling through racism. Dancing through discrimination. Singing through the pain of never being fully accepted anywhere. And I'm tired, Dave. I'm so tired of performing. He looked directly into the camera. His one eye red and swollen from crying. If you're a young black performer watching this, or any young person who feels like they don't fit in, like they have to choose between different parts of their identity, let me tell you something. Don't do what I did. Don't spend your life trying to make everyone else comfortable. Don't sacrifice who you are for acceptance that will never fully come. His voice got stronger, more urgent. Be yourself, all of yourself. Even the parts that make people uncomfortable, because the alternative is spending your whole life as a ghost, a performance, a reflection of what other people want you to be. And when you're lying in a hospital bed, dying from cancer like I will be soon, you'll realize you never actually lived. You just performed. The audience erupted into applause, but it wasn't the usual entertainment applause. It was something deeper, more emotional. People were standing, crying, applauding through tears. Sammy stood up. Letterman stood too. They embraced, and Letterman could feel Sammy shaking in his arms. When they pulled apart, Letterman picked up the glass eye from his desk and held it out to Sammy. "Do you want this back?" Letterman asked gently. Sammy looked at it for a long moment. Then he smiled, a real smile, not a performance. "You know what? Keep it. Put it in your desk drawer. And whenever you look at it, remember tonight. Remember that everyone's hiding something. Everyone's performing. And the bravest thing you can do is stop." He turned to walk away, then stopped and looked back. "And Dave, thank you for seeing me. The real me, not the performance. Just me." And then Sammy Davis Jr. walked off the stage. The applause continued long after he disappeared behind the curtain. Letterman stood alone at his desk, holding the glass eye, tears streaming down his face. When the audience finally quieted, Letterman looked at the camera, his voice thick with emotion. "That was Sammy Davis Jr., and I don't think I've ever been more honored to have someone on this show. He didn't come here to entertain us. He came here to tell us the truth about identity, about belonging, about the impossible position of trying to exist between worlds." He looked down at the glass eye in his hand. "We're not going to do the rest of the show tonight, because nothing we could do would honor what just happened. Sammy gave us something precious. He gave us his truth, and we need to sit with that." He looked back at the camera. "If you're struggling with identity, if you feel like you don't belong anywhere, if you're tired of performing for other people's comfort, you're not alone." Sammy Davis Jr., one of the greatest entertainers who ever lived, feels the same way. And if he can find the courage to stop performing and be real, maybe we all can. The show ended. No music, no credits, just silence and reflection.